It is no secret that I lost my virginity at 15 and made a slew of terrible decisions following up after that. It is also no secret that I had no idea what I was doing and wish that I had known what I know now then. If this video helps just one person decide to start waiting now or wait altogether until they're married to have sex, then my vulnerability throughout this video will have been worth it. Hey there, Alligator. I'm Allie Marie, and this is my Catholic perspective. To join the Alligators, all you have to do is subscribe, so go hit the button and you're in the group. I also have a Patreon account, so if you wanted to become an official Baby Gator, Teen Gator, Kid Gator, or anything else, feel free to head on over there at the end of the video if you'd like to support me on that site. Today's Musical Monday! Alice Mayrose is who got last week Musical Monday's songs correct the soonest, so she chose the genre of 2000s emo music for this week's video. I bet you didn't know that that was actually my favorite music in high school, so it was really fun to be able to look back on all of that. Try to guess today's parodies the soonest, and you could be the winner to choose the genre of next week's Musical Monday video. This week's topic was actually influenced by a fellow alligator, Peter G., who asked me what about Catholicism caused my morality about sex to stick. Today I'm going to go through 5 things that I know now that I wish I knew then. So starting off, when I was being raised, I was very sheltered. I grew up on 35 acres. My parents didn't let me watch PG-13 movies until I was officially 13. I just wasn't really allowed to have a whole lot of friends, so there wasn't a whole lot of opportunity for corruption from different people my age. My initial teachings on sexual morality were from Dragon Tales, Arthur, and anything else on WGTV. We didn't even have cable growing up. I would watch the Disney Channel over at my grandma's house. When I was 12 years old, I became a woman. At least that's what my mom told my pastor the morning after I started my menstrual cycle. It was also when I was 12 that I had my first boyfriend. He was also my first kiss. We dated for about 3 months before we were at a school fundraiser at a bowling alley and met in the front little alleyway and had this awkward little peck that don't even know if it was a real kiss or not, but I'm sure it was, and more to come on that later. But my brother had run home and told my mom that I had kissed him, and she made me break up with him with no explanation. Obviously, looking back, I see it as kissing leads to XYZ, which ultimately leads to sex. But since I had never seen a PG-13 movie, I didn't really know what kissing really led to at that point. I really was very sheltered and naive. At that point, I feel like it would have been a great opportunity for my mom and or dad to sit down with me and talk to me about my inherent worth and dignity as a woman, as a human person. I remember both of my parents sitting at a counter and I was sitting at a couch over here, and my mom came rushing around the counter and she was like, "You know masturbation is wrong, right?" And I looked at her and I'm like, in my head, I'm like, girls can masturbate? And I'm just like, yeah, I know. No idea. The approach that was taken when I was at that age because of how I had been raised, which I feel like had been good up to that point, just kind of fell apart. So that would be the first thing that I just kind of wish that it really had been instilled in me when I started showing an interest in boys. You are worth waiting for. You are full of inherent dignity and worth. I guess as I'm recording now, I kind of remember is it Teen Heart that goes around and they talk about the sexual situations that you can find yourself in and just say no, like the dare stuff that goes around for drugs. But I think that inherent worth and inherent dignity should be instilled from our parents. It's by receiving that unconditional love and by hearing from them their perspective of how they see us and how they view us and how we should view ourselves comes from them. When I was a young girl, my parents failed to give me details for why I'd want to wait. So this whole 3-month thing came into play when I was 15 as well. I had only dated the guy that I ended up giving my virginity to for 3 months. And it was also like my first kiss, was that really just what happened? That was fast. He went to a different school than I did, and very shortly after we slept together, like within a week or two, I received a message from a girl who went to his school that was in band with him who said, "Hey, your guy is cheating on you with me." And I didn't really know what to think. I remember being like violently upset and like feeling like I was going to throw up. So all while this was going on, I actually went to a non-denominational church, and the youth pastor that I had would air his dirty laundry. So he would get up on stage and he would start bawling about how he was at the gym the other day and somebody in the basketball team, they made him mad and he cussed him out, and all of a sudden he felt all this remorse about how he should be acting better, and he was like publicly telling all of the students this stuff. So when church camp came around and I went and was like, wow, I'm totally broken. Like, I had tried sticking it out with this guy for a year. I had tried everything in my power to make it work. I wanted to marry him. And like, I was like, whatever it takes, let's make this work. So that would be the second thing that I really wish that I had known at that time. That whoever you give your virginity to, it creates a bond that is stronger than anything else. And that is why it's so important to wait until you're married. When we talk about the divorce rate being 50% of marriages, I can almost guarantee that the majority of those divorces aren't starting out as virgins. So doing everything in my power to make the relationship work is exactly what's called for in a marriage. When you have sex for the first time, you're connected for a lifetime. Isn't that what we're hoping for? So I went to Bible camp, and when I came back, I did a public testimony. I proclaimed that I was sorry, that I knew my inherent worth, I knew my dignity, it was in Christ, I was a child of God, and then I got another boyfriend and slept with him probably within the first 6 months. I laugh because it's embarrassing. So after having sex once, that line has been crossed. It makes it so it doesn't seem like as big of a deal, but really it is. For every person that you sleep with, you are literally giving them a piece of your heart, a piece of your soul. When God talks about two becoming one, it's actually a merging of the two souls. And there has been theological debate about how that will look in heaven. Like, will we have scars on our soul that brought us to heaven with how many people that we had been with, that we merged our souls with? Like, how will that look exactly? And we don't know at this point. There's no finite answer. But also, just like if you were to crack the screen on your phone by dropping it, you shouldn't smash it to the ground. Just because an infraction has been made doesn't mean that you should do so much to deserve a felony. This whole idea to not have sex because you could get pregnant or get an STI are good reasons, but at the end of the day, sex is just as much emotional as it is physical. And to say anything different is a lie that is very deceiving. So that would be the third thing, that I wish I knew that after the first time I had sex that it would actually devalue how central it can be to a relationship to strengthen it. Just because you gave away your virginity doesn't mean your body isn't sacred. So 15 to 20, I made terrible decisions. I don't even want to list them because some of them are so embarrassing, I'd rather just forget about them, which I was able to do in my conversion process when I was 21 in confession. My first confession was an absolute nightmare. I walked in there and confessed maybe 3 things, and the priest was just like, yeah, you're good. Like, just make your act of contrition. And I'm like, oh, and I struggle with this. And he's like, yeah, you're fine. Don't worry about it. And I'm like, I have been carrying this stuff on my heart for so long. Like, I want to talk about it and like actually dissect it and be forgiven. And I felt like I was essentially just kicked out of the confessional. So my brother, as my sponsor, actually set up a secondary first confession where I was in there for over an hour, and I went through every guy I'd ever been with, how many times I had been with each of them, like all of these struggles about like how many lies has I told, why did I tell them, everything that I could remember was out on the table. And I walked out of that confessional feeling so free and just not having that guilt weighing on my heart anymore. I think that that's the piece that really helped me to regain the value that sex had to offer and kissing. Because for the first year and a half of me being Catholic, I had committed to not kiss anyone unless they were my boyfriend and essentially just say, I'm not going to date even at this point. I had learned that there was a different vocation, that I didn't necessarily have to get married, and that maybe I could be a nun or a consecrated single woman. And this idea had never even crossed my mind because I wasn't Catholic. So I had been living this life with this expectation that I was going to be a wife, I was going to have sex one day, I was going to have children. And suddenly it all shifted and said, well, maybe I'm not going to have children. Maybe I'm not called to marriage. And so I think that that was a really defining point in how I viewed relationships and how I approached men in general with how we should be pursuing each other in the dating world. To be a wife isn't the only life. I could be a bride of Christ if I chose to be a nun. So I was Catholic for about a year and a half, maintained this whole deal where I didn't date for 3 months at a time. I had a little Pandora bracelet that I bought a charm for at the beginning of every 3 months to commit to the next 3 months. And then I got diagnosed with my brain tumor, where I had been seeing somebody that I was kind of falling in love with, essentially, and was ready to accept a proposal. But he and I just didn't have proper communication, and he ended up finding a new girlfriend fairly quick. And I think that at that turning point, because I had never even kissed him, because I wouldn't. On our very first date, he asked me to cuddle in a hammock with him, and I was like, why would I do that? You're not my boyfriend. And so we spent about 6 months just getting to know each other on a very emotional and spiritual level, which I feel was healthy. But at the end of the day, because I was Catholic, he didn't feel that our relationship was going to work, which was probably for the best. But there was still a part of me that felt like he left because I wouldn't be physical with him. Like if we had been physical, maybe he would have stayed, which I also know now that that is a total lie, because I probably just would have been more devastated if we had kissed or gone any further than kissing. And so after my surgery, my past vices snuck up, which I've talked about in the conversion of my body or conversion of my spirit, probably both. And I did end up sleeping with somebody while I was Catholic. So I felt funny making this video about what about Catholicism made my morality about sex stick, because I did slip up when I was Catholic. However, it did totally reshape how I viewed relationships and viewed how I should be acting in the eyes of men. I am so thankful to say that Alec and I did wait until we were married, because it was something that was important to him too, which would be the fifth thing that I really wish that I would have known earlier. To choose a man that also wants to wait. And it is so hard. But you don't want to date somebody who's just going to be like, well, I'd wait if I met the right person. It's like, no, your wife is alive now. My husband, when I was single, I would think to myself, he's alive now. Like, if I want a lifelong commitment to a man, that lifelong commitment starts when I'm born. It's for my entire life because it's that lifelong commitment. It doesn't start on the day I meet him. It doesn't start when I turn 18 or when I turn 21. It doesn't end when I feel like I've waited long enough. God rewards patience, and he honors those who honor him. So I just wish that it had been instilled in me that I was truly worth waiting for, and that it's a good idea to date somebody simultaneously that also wants to wait. But those are my 5 things. I guess the only other thing I could say would be, I hope that my kids can learn from me. They don't have to feel the pain or see the things that I've seen. I hope that they learn from me, 'cause I've learned so much. So God bless you. If you are a virgin and you are still waiting, kudos to you. I don't want to say I'm jealous, because I know that's one of the 10 commandments, but seriously, I wish that I had known enough that I knew that I should have waited. And if you are someone that's given away your virginity, just know that there is still I have gotten some pretty nasty comments from some older Catholics who say that they would never marry me and they feel like they would be a cuckold if they were to marry me. But guess what? My husband would not for 1 second make me feel bad about my past, because he knows that 1, I thoroughly regret it, 2, that character is greater than reputation, and that who I am today is not who I have been in the past. And 3, he loves me for who I am. And good or bad, my past experiences have made me who I am today. But if I could do it over again, trust me, I would. And I truly hope that, that last song, that my kids can learn from me, that I do a sufficient job as a mother to meet them where they are with love and respect, but at the same time, helping them understand why it is that these things would be detrimental to our emotional, spiritual, and physical health. Be sure to guess what the songs are that I sang. Who will be next? Also, this next Sunday is going to be the first Patreon live stream where all teen gators get to help me choose the songs for next week's video. So today's the last day you can sign up for that to be a part of it during May. So be sure to hop on over there as soon as you can, and I would love to see you there. However, until next time, we'll see you later, alligator.